Week 5 is down, and we are moving on to Week 6. But Week 5 was a doozy. We saw Travis Etienne finish as running back 1. Breece Hall finally got going in that New York Jets offense. Again, it's nice to see him get going again. Saw him finish just shy of 200 yards rushing. But Christian McCaffrey found the end zone once again. Doesn't look like that's stopping anytime soon. And then lastly, Tony Pollard struggled a lot, but I guess it's okay because every single Dallas Cowboy struggled this week. So not just him.
Easy.
So Nathan, rough week for you. UT loses, Dallas Cowboys lose. I don't know if it gets any harder for you. And
Chase Elliott didn't win the race on Sunday. So my God, dude.
I'll tell you what, this has been a rough week for you. And then the Longhorns going down this week too has been rough, I'm sure. This hasn't been very good. With us all being in the Texas area, in different areas of Texas, being from, it's been a crazy week for Texas. So Texas A&M going down, Texas going down, Dallas having a terrible week. It's been rough here in the
Houston lost.
Yeah.
The only good thing coming out of Texas right now are the Texas Rangers.
Go Rangers, baby.
Yeah, that's about right.
As he's wearing a Braves hat.
Hey, I got to pull for this team too.
But the purpose of this episode are running back rankings 1 through 24 as alongside of some of our stardom situm options. And some of these stardoms may be quite obvious choices, but they are players that we could see moving up our leaderboards, looking at top finishes this week. So let's go ahead and get this started. These are our running backs 1 through 12, our RB1s for these week 6 matchups. Now keep in mind that in these week 6 matchups, the Green Bay Packers are going to be going on a bye as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those are the only 2 teams who have bye weeks in week 6. But Dalton, I am going to kick it to you here. Who is your stardom out of these running back 1 matchups here?
Yeah, I think someone that I'm going to have to go with is there at our number 10 spot, and it's Kenneth Walker. Going off what you just said there, bringing up the bye weeks, this is someone who's coming off their bye week here in week 5, coming back in week 6. So through the first 5 weeks, the reason I like this is that the Cincinnati Bengals defense currently is ranked 31st in rush yards allowed with 770 yards, and they're tied 30th with the New York Giants with 5.3 yards per carry. So I'm really loving that matchup there. They're playing a pretty, bad defense there with the Cincinnati Bengals rush defense. So also Kenneth Walker's workload has been pretty consistent this season, averaging 17 to 20 touches per game. He's averaged 5 yards per carry this season, and only 4 yards per carry. He's only been under 4 yards per carry once, and that was versus the Lions, which is understandable. So his red zone usage has been great as well. He has found the pay dirt 5 times in the last 3 games he's played, and he's the only running back on the team that's actually scored a touchdown this season. So he sounds like Mr. Reliable to me for Pete Carroll. So I'm not too worried about the RB2 and Zach Charbonnet or DJ Dallas, as they have been splitting around a 30% snap share this year, whereas Walker has commanded most of it with a healthy 70% to himself, and he's seen most, or if not all, the red zone work. So basically, I love the fresh legs coming in for this bye week, and versus a pretty porous defense in the Bengals, I'm expecting the Seahawks to lean pretty heavily on Walker this week, considering that Geno Smith has been struggling as of late. So I would expect nothing south of 20-plus touches for him, and for him to also find the pay dirt again to extend that scoring streak. So
he is a fun play week to week. I really like him in that offense a lot, and I do think that, especially like you're saying, against that pretty mid-tiered defense in the Cincinnati Bengals rush defense, I think that he is a low-risk play moving into this week. Let's keep it moving on here. So those were our running back 1 rankings for these week 6 matchups, but let's go ahead and move on to the running back 2 matchups, which are rankings 13 through 24 here. Now, this is where my stardom for this week sits, and I'm doubling up on this. It's DeAndre Swift versus the New York Jets. I had DeAndre Swift last week, and it paid off. He continues to be a low-risk play week to week behind that dominant offensive line, and I think that that's going to continue against this New York Jets defense, which is allowing bottom 10 numbers to running backs, so they struggle to stop running backs in fantasy perspective, right? So I think that, again, Swift is guaranteed at 12 plus points. He's managed to hit 15 plus in 4 weeks back to back to back. And off of those, he's in a high level offense behind a very good offensive line. And through those last 4 matchups, he's getting at least 18 plus touches in all of those. And he's a highly efficient runner, having 5.5 yards per carry over the past 4 weeks as well. So you can start to see that the Eagles are invested into him, and they're looking to get him involved in every which way possible. And again, like I said, I think versus this New York Jets defense being top or bottom 10 versus running backs, I don't see that stopping anytime soon. They're currently allowing just less than 25 fantasy points per game at 24.9 to the running back position. And they've given up 18 points to a third string running back this last week with the Denver Broncos. So, I mean, it's definitely safe to say that DeAndre Swift is able to meet those numbers as well. And even in the week prior, in week 4, Isaiah Pacheco went for 25 plus. So ended up as running back number 6. So I think, again, with Swift's recent history, and then as bad as that the New York Jets defense has been, everything looks to be pointing positive for him. So continue to make a low risk play here. So I really like him in this week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. DeAndre Swift is going to get you. What I love about this is finding any running back that's going to get maximum amount of opportunities, and that usually doesn't happen unless you're involved in the passing game. I like it. DeAndre Swift is going to get optimal passing opportunities. He's going to get, optimal touches in the backfield, and so I love everything about it. I love this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, looking back at this list, running backs 1 through 24 in these week 6 matchups, there were some people that did not make this list. And Dalton, I want you to go ahead and be the bearer of bad news here and break out who your sit-em for these week 6 matchups are.
Yeah, for me, that's going to be Ramondre Stevenson. I don't like his matchup this week. He's going to be playing the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're playing in Las Vegas this week. And so, as we all know, the Patriots have been a huge disappointment thus far in the season. Stevenson
it's a shame too, because Stevenson did so good last year, and it's like, dude, you got to move on from Mac Jones. At some point in time, you have to say, we're starting Bailey Zappi just to see what he can produce. Like, you got to do something to switch it up.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely have to make some moves, and, it's definitely not healthy what's going on there, and it's definitely affecting big playmakers like Stevenson. And like you were alluding to, Stevenson, because of being on the bad team that they're on right now, Stevenson hasn't recorded a single explosive run or topped more than 60 yards rushing this season, which, like you were saying, is totally unlike himself compared to last year. He's averaging less than 3 yards per carry, and he's only mustered more than 8 PPR fantasy points only twice this season. So the Raiders are a middle-of-the-pack defense. I would say that's a good thing this week, but so were the New Orleans Saints last week. And last week he only saw 8 touches for 24 yards. So I'm not very hyped on this, despite playing the Las Vegas Raiders. And Stevenson has experienced a rapid decrease in usage, going from a 73% snap share in week 1 versus Philadelphia to a 50% snap share last week versus the New Orleans Saints. So I am expecting another embarrassing performance from the Patriots and Mac Jones in week 6 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. So don't expect Ramondre Stevenson to carry your team to fantasy stardom this week. So.
Yeah, and it's tough to imagine that the Patriots figure it out overnight. It's just been absolutely pitiful watching them play, and then unfortunately for Stevenson, I feel like his snap share is going down because they're playing in such behind games. What is the point? Like, literally, what is the point? And I mean, I think it may be a little bit more competitive versus the Raiders this week, but it's just, I think I am in kind of a sell mode with Stevenson. Him and Zeke seem to be splitting reps a little bit here and there, but neither one of them have proven to kind of show who's going to still RB1 position for the Patriots. So
And
I think either one of those. No, it's not. It's not. It's just you can't get anything going in that offense, and it's been super frustrating. So I agree. I think it's safe to probably sit him moving forward, because if you started him, especially these last 3 weeks in some kind of favorable matchups, he hasn't produced. But again, neither has Zeke. Zeke hasn't hit 10 total fantasy points in a single game this year either.
And when your offensive coordinator looks completely flustered, like Bill O'Brien did during that last game, and then Mac Jones just walks away, like it's just like this whole offensive identity is completely gone. There's no identity.
Mac Jones is not an NFL quarterback. Okay, like first off, the past offseason when he was like telling the coaches, "You can't yell at me. Don't yell at me." I'm just like, well, I'd have been like, pack your shit and get the fuck out of town, then, brother. Like, we don't need you. And it's clear to see that they can do a lot better without him. I mean, at some point in time, Belichick's got to sit down and be like, guys, we're either going to tank the year and we're going to draft a quarterback this upcoming year, or you have to put in Bailey Zappi and let him start a few games. I don't know.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Bill Belichick after this season, whether he's going to retire or if the Patriots are going to decide to move on or if he'll stay another year. And let's just see what happens in this next NFL draft, for them.
I think this trade for Kyler Murray. At this point, why don't you just trade for Kyler Murray?
I could see that. That would be a fun place to see him go and play.
It can't be any worse than what's going on right now.
Well, it just depends at what expense. There are injuries that are lingering there with that, and at what expense can they get them? It depends on the price for me.
Yeah,
if you're going to waste a first-round draft pick and you're not going to get Caleb Williams, I don't know. If you're not going to get Caleb Williams or Drake May,
I wouldn't waste a first, not with the injuries.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and keep it moving, though. Nathan, who is your sit-em this week in these Week 6 matchups?
I'm going to go with Samaje Perine. When Javonte Williams got hurt and Perine kind of took over, a lot of people will kind of hit the waiver wire and put in a lot of people put in for him in our league, put a lot of bids on him. But J. Lee McLaughlin, that is the guy now with Javonte Williams out, and you can pretty much, if you bid money on Perine, that was kind of a waste. So, but yeah, a lot of people thought that he would be really, really good with Javonte Williams coming out, and that has not been the case. And after what we've seen from McLaughlin, I don't see anything changing for Perine. So, yeah.
Nathan, yeah, I actually 100% agree with you. I mean, if you look at our list that we had up for our running back tier 2s, we actually have Jaleel McLaughlin at our number 24 spot. Guys, I love that. I think he's going to be a fantastic handcuff for the Broncos, especially until Javonte Williams gets back. And I mean, if you look at his past 2 weeks, I was looking at this earlier. He's had 10.29 yards per carry in week 4 versus the Bears. And then he had 7.56 yards per carry last week versus the New York Jets. So guys, so efficient. He's had limited opportunities. He only had 9 carries last week and 7 the week prior with the Bears, but still, guys, highly efficient. I see if he can keep that going versus the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, I agree. Samaje Perine, I'm out. I was excited to see him with Javonte Williams out, but McLaughlin obviously looked like he was the guy there. So kind of out on him. He's a high risk play week to week and very dependent upon receptions and targets and everything else. So I agree there. But let's go ahead and get to the last player here, and it is my sit-em for this week, and it is actually Miles Sanders here versus the Miami Dolphins. I view this as a high risk play, and it's mainly because just this Carolina team is just bad. And due to that, we've seen that Miles Sanders has a very low usage these last couple weeks, especially the last 2 weeks. But then also Miami has a mid-tier defense. There's nothing that's really good or really great at all, but they're also not bad. So looking back at Miles Sanders, he's just been up to this point very disappointing. In these last 2 weeks, he is only getting 12 total touches, 32 scrimmage yards as an average, no touchdowns. And I think that's mainly because Carolina is going through this rebuild phase. Most importantly, though, where I think that we have started to see Miles Sanders' numbers drop quite a bit is he's seen less than 50% snap share in his last 2 games. He had 46 last week and 43 the week prior. So I don't see that changing versus this Miami defense. And again, like I was saying with Carolina going through that rebuild phase, is they're playing behind in a lot of games. This last week, we saw them lose very easily to the Detroit Lions. And Miles Sanders is no longer a part of that equation. I think that ball's in Bryce Young's hand or whoever the quarterback is going to be. I think Bryce Young moving forward, but it's in the quarterback's hand, and they're just moving on from Miles Sanders. He hasn't had over 10 points roughly since the first part of this season. So I think he's just a high-risk play, someone that he really doesn't even have a whole lot of flex appeal, especially versus a high-powered Miami offense. And I think that they're going to play very far behind. So don't love him here. And I think, again, he's someone that you consider sitting on your bench.
Yeah, I think Miles Sanders definitely started hot this season. But considering the poor quarterback play that we've seen in Carolina, I wouldn't so much, he is a rookie this year. I think I don't hate, Bryce Young right now, but with the growing pains, it's definitely affected the rest of the team. And so going forward, I think I'm going to have to agree. I'm staying away from Miles Sanders as we see more better quarterback production and just from Carolina's offense as a whole. I'm just going to stay away from it. So
yeah, no, I agree. And it's like, if you're going to start anybody from Carolina, it'd probably be Adam Thielen. And I mean, what a trade though. Like, or not? I don't know if the Vikings trade him to Carolina.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I mean, what a pickup by Carolina. It's like Adam Thielen we're seeing true wide receiver number 1 numbers out of him. And he has looked great so far this year. But I'm with you. Bryce Young hasn't been good. It's safe to say that he's probably been one of the worst rookie quarterbacks. That's why, like, one of the very first episodes that we ever recorded, if you go back, we kind of predicted our draft spots, and me and DJ felt like CJ Stroud was a more pro-ready quarterback, and it's proven that CJ Stroud's been the best quarterback so far, and he's done a lot better than what people thought he would be doing in Houston, and he looks pretty good there. I think Houston was spot on there with CJ Stroud, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with Bryce Young, but so far I think CJ Stroud's the best rookie quarterback, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, and off of that, though, again, I just think that because of that and them being in that rebuild phase, just Miles Sanders went there to make a name for himself, and it just hasn't worked out so much. But anyways, thank y'all so much for listening to this episode. This is our Week 6 running back rankings alongside our Stardom, Situm editions as well. So thank y'all so much for everything, and thank y'all for making it to this part of the episode, and good luck this week.
And don't forget to check out our Discord, guys.
The link is in the description below, so make sure y'all do that. All of our rankings will be posted there, so get in there, and we will be making posts for our bets for the upcoming week as well. So anyways, thank y'all so much, and we will see y'all next time.
Pleasure riding the pine, boys.
later, y'all.